we are going to look at another subject today. And there were many subjects that I was contemplating. And based on also what has been transpiring in our world today. But oftentimes when I'm trying to focus on a message throughout the week, but it's not until Sabbath morning I really know where I'm going. It's not until Sabbath morning, usually get up around 3 o'clock in the morning, that's when, in spite of the fact that throughout the week I had been putting messages together, but and sometimes I do have an idea in mind, what I want to present, but I always leave it up to the Lord Sabbath morning when I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to prepare messages. So I always like to do this because I know that by getting up early that Sabbath morning to bring this to you, that's a fresh manna. Amen? This is not something that I have reserved throughout the whole week and then bring it up to you. This is something that I've allowed the Lord to show me what His people need to hear for the moment. And oftentimes, when I think that I have the message together, and then again, waking up that Sabbath morning, all of a sudden I find myself going in a different direction. I said, well, glory be to God. Amen? Amen. So again, we have been studying the kingdom of God. And we have been looking at the kingdom of grace and also the kingdom of glory. And last Sabbath, we kind of mingled together the kingdom of grace with the kingdom of glory. So far, what we looked at is that in order for us to experience glory, the kingdom of glory, which, by the way, again, is the second coming of Jesus Christ, which is the second apartment in the most holy place. And in order for us to experience that, we must experience grace, as we looked at. Some of you who've been studying with us, you know exactly what I'm referring to. But who knows what's today's date, by the way? What's today's date?
20th.
The 20th. In 2 days, what day would that be?
October 22nd.
What does that mean to you and I as Seventh-day Adventists?
Judgment.
October 22nd. What does it mean? I hear judgment.
End of the 2300.
End of the 2300 days. And what else? What else does it mean to you and I?
Jesus is coming.
Jesus is coming. There it is there. What was the message being proclaimed 1843 in going into 1844, even prior to that? Because you remember Miller and a few others had set the first date there for 1843. Then they moved it to October 22nd, 1844. What was the message being proclaimed?
Jesus is coming.
Jesus was coming again. Now, which church was proclaiming that message? By me asking the question, which church was proclaiming that message, I'm referring to the 7 churches in the book of Revelation. Philadelphia church.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what was the characteristics of the Philadelphia? Well, before we answer that question, go with me, let's go to the book of Zechariah. Which book are we going to do?
Zechariah.
Let's go to the book of Zechariah chapter 14. Zechariah chapter 14. Keep that in mind. The message that they were proclaiming was the second coming of Jesus Christ. That the kingdom of glory was about to be established, was coming. That Jesus was coming in a cloud of glory to take His people home. We are in the book of Zechariah, chapter 14, beginning verse 1. It says, are you there?
Yes.
That's not exactly what it says. I'm just checking to see if you are there. Verse 1, it says, behold, the day of the Lord, what happened? Cometh, and thy spoil. What's there? Spoil. That's another word for splendor here. Shall be divided in the midst of thee. For I will gather all the nations against who? Jerusalem to battle. And the city shall be taken, and the houses, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. But let's keep reading now, verse 3. Then shall the Lord go forth and fight against those nations, as when he fought in the day of battle. Now, what period of time was the Bible, the prophet Zechariah referring to here? What period of time was he referring to here? What was the context in verse 1? The Lord, it says, is coming. That was the context in verse 1. But this is not only referring to the destruction of Jerusalem,
also towards the end,
but also towards the end of time. But notice that God also is telling us here, prior to his second coming, God's people will be facing a great crisis. And that will be one of the signs that Jesus is coming again. When we are embarked into the period of time when we will be facing great and severe persecution. The Bible also tells us here, God will allow this to happen. For what reason? To purify his people. To help his people to get rid of sin. To cleanse them. As Jacob was facing a time of trouble. What was Jacob, or what did Jacob do as he was facing that time of trouble? Did God allow Jacob to face that time, that situation there? Esau and his army was coming against Jacob, right?
Mm-hmm.
But God had already spoken to Esau concerning Jacob, but Jacob did not know this. All Jacob knew was that he was facing a time of trouble. But what did he do? We looked at this before. Jacob wanted to make sure that he was right with God in case Esau killed him. Yeah. That's why he was struggling and wrestling with the angel, which we know is the Lord Jesus Christ. Verse 4. And his feet, speaking of the Lord, his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is where?
Before Jerusalem.
Which is where? Where is that? Which is before Jerusalem, on the east, and the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west, and there shall be a very great valley, and half of the mountain shall be moved toward the north, and of it toward the south. Again, what movement, or I should say, what event rather, that the Bible is describing here in verse 4. Is that the second coming?
No, it's the descent of Jerusalem onto the Mount of Olives after 1,000 years.
That's the third coming. that is the third coming it's referring to. Right. But verse 1 was referring to the second coming, but going into verse 4, now it's describing at the end of the millennium. We know there's a gap between the two resurrections, right? 1,000 years gap.
Yeah.
The second resurrection, the second resurrection, which is with the dead, will take place at the end of the 1,000 years.
Yes.
Then Jesus, the same event there, will be taking place when he comes again the second time, or the third time rather, when he comes out and he descend on a Mount of Olives, and then the valley there, or the mountain there, will become a valley, as it just described here. But now, skip on down with me to verse 6. And it says, and it shall come to pass in that day, that the light shall not be clear nor dark. Now, verse 7. But it shall be one day which shall be known to the Lord. Not day nor night, but it shall come to what? To pass, that at evening time it shall be light. So the Bible is describing the second coming of Jesus Christ. But when you look at the third coming, but when you look at verse 7, it says, no man knows that day. That's what verse 7 is describing. Verse 7 is very similar to what we also read in Matthew chapter 24. Let's go to the book of Matthew chapter 24. Matthew chapter 24. Keep verse 7 of Zechariah in mind there, chapter 14 of Zechariah. And again, many of you here, I'm sure you are very familiar with Matthew 24 and also Luke 21 and also Mark chapter 13. Those passages there describe signs of the times that will precede the second advent of Jesus Christ. Matthew chapter 24, Notice with me in verse 36. Speaking of the second coming, here's what we do not know. Let's look at what we do not know. It says, but of that day, speaking of the second coming, an hour knoweth how many?
No man.
How many? No man. Nor not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. How many people know about exactly when the second coming will take place?
Nobody.
The Father. That Christ says.
That's it.
Just the Father there, he mentioned while he was still on the earth. But again, let's compare this. This goes along, by the way, with Zechariah chapter 14 we just looked at here. No man knows the day or the hour. Let's look at also Mark chapter 13. Mark chapter 13. We're going to look at what the Bible says about that great event that all of us here, I'm sure, are eagerly waiting for. And I'm very sure that all of you here are tired of this world. Amen?
Amen.
Notice, Mark chapter 13, beginning in verse 28. Are you there?
Yeah.
And the Bible says, now learn a parable of the fig tree. When her branch is yet tender, and putteth forth leaves, ye know that, summer is nigh. So ye in like manner, when ye shall see these things, we'll look at these things that Jesus is referring to in a moment. When ye shall see these things come to pass, know that it is nigh, even at the doors. Verily I say unto you, that this generation shall not pass till all these things be done. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away. Notice verse 32. But of that day, what day is that again?
Christ coming.
Christ coming, second coming. But of that day and that hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels which are in heaven, neither the Son, but who else?
But the Father.
The Father. We'll come back to Mark 13. We are just doing a line upon line. Let's look at another passage here that describes the same event there. That the second coming will take place, but no one knows that. Acts chapter 1. Notice Jesus again, right before he ascended back to heaven, was talking to the disciples. The disciples expected him to establish his kingdom right then and there. But Jesus says in verse 7 of Acts chapter 1, and he said unto them, it is not for you to know the what? Times, and what else? All the seasons, which the Father hath put in his own power. So no one knows the day, the time, or the season, but the Father only. Matthew chapter 24. Go back to Matthew 24 now. Which book are we going to now?
Matthew 24.
Matthew chapter 24. Notice, in the book of Matthew chapter 24, let's look at verse 42. Matthew 24, verse 42. Now, question I would like to ask you here. Jesus says no man knows the day or the hour. Right? Isn't that right? But did he give us signs to help us to understand when the day and the hour will be here? Did he give us signs?
He did.
Yes. Notice, Matthew chapter 24, and the Bible says, let's begin in verse 40. And if you look at these passages we're looking at carefully, in spite of the fact that we read 4 different passages that told us that we do not know, or no man knows the day or the hour, but at the same time, these passages also give us clues of when that time will come. Those of us who are students of Bible prophecies, we will not miss this unless we are like the 5 foolish virgins who were not watching and praying. Notice, verse 40. Then shall 2 be in the field. The one shall be taken and the other left. 2 women shall be grinding at the mill. The one shall be taken and the other left. Keep that word in mind here. The first word in verse 42. What does it say there? Watch. We'll come back to that. Watch therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord doth come. What did the Lord command us to do?
Watch.
Watch. Because we do not know when the Lord is coming. What did he tell us to do? watch. What should we be watching? That's the question. What should we be watching?
Watching for the signs that he told us about.
When you look at Matthew chapter 24 again, which we are dealing with here, all the way down to the end, he gave signs that we should be watching for. And notice, let's keep reading. Let's go to verse 43 now. But know this, that if the good man of the house had no one in what? What is it? Watch. The thief would come, he would have done what? Watched, and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Spiritually speaking, what is the house there? That's the church. That's the church, spiritually speaking. In other words, the good man of the house here is talking about leaders within the church. Sometimes later, I will deal with that, maybe in part 2. The good men there of the house, that's talking about the leaders, the pastors within the church, who are supposed to be watchmen, to feed the flock, to help the flock to understand the times and seasons, the signs, to help to educate the flock, to help them to be prepared for the second advent of Jesus Christ. What was the reason why? The majority did not recognize Christ. We studied this before. What was the reason why the majority did not recognize Christ when he came the first time? Because of false teachers. It was because of false teachers. It was because of false teachings as well.
Yes.
It was because of a Laodicean mentality. They thought that they were rich
and in need of nothing.
It was the same problem. Then, this is the same crisis, the same problem we are experiencing as a remnant people. If you are going to count on the General Conference, leaders there, the pastors there, to tell you what's going on in the world right now, how Bible prophecies are being fulfilled, that time will never come, as Sister White says. That time will never come. If you think that there will be a great, quote-unquote, revival and reformation, as our president liked to say, Ted Wilson, that is. If you think that there will be a great revival within this denomination, as it is right now, Sister White says that time will never come. That time will never come. How did Christ shape the world 2,000 years ago? With a faithful few in a self-supported way. With a faithful few. He bypassed the religious leaders. He bypassed the organization. He bypassed them. Then he went for the peasant, so to speak, for the fishermen, the uneducated one. Those were the ones that he had chosen. Those who did not have a PhD. And you know what PhD stands for, right? Some of you know permanent head damage. Notice with me now. So the Bible says, in verse 44 now, it says, therefore, be ye what? Also ready. For in such an hour as ye think not, the Son of Man cometh. So when is the best time to be ready?
All the time.
All the time, always. That's right. All the time, always. Because he said, at any moment when you think not,
yes,
the Son of Man cometh. But what did he counsel us to do? Watch. And what were we supposed to watch? Remember, Matthew 24 and also going into Matthew 25, these counsels of Christ are there because the disciples had asked for signs of his second coming. And one of the things that Jesus says, you will not know the day, the exact hour, but watch, because I will give you signs. There will be signs in the suns, in the moon, signs that would help you to be prepared. And as a faithful student of Bible prophecies, when we see the signs, do you think that we will recognize also the time? Do you think we will recognize the time? You don't know? No, on the screen. Wait, before you go on the screen, go with me to Revelation chapter 3. Revelation chapter 3. What was the message again, as I asked in the beginning? What was the message? What was the message that they were preaching?
Coming to Jesus.
Now, question for you. What was one of the reasons, beside Miller understanding of Daniel chapter 8 verse 14, beside that understanding there, what was the other argument or reasoning behind them preaching the second coming? Because the signs, many of the signs that Jesus had foretold in Luke 21 and Matthew 24 had already taken place.
Yeah.
Like the darkest day that they had, the shooting stars, the great earthquake, the Lisbon earthquake. They studied all of these things. This is why we have to be student of Bible prophecies.
Amen.
This is why we have to study the Bible for ourselves, so that we can better be prepared. So they were studying the Bible, they were studying history, compare that with Bible prophecy. They realized that the signs of the soon return of the Son of God have been taking place. So notice now. So therefore, going to Revelation 3, verse 7, notice what the Bible says of that era, the pioneers era there, the Philadelphia era, which means brotherly love. It says, unto the angel rather, of the church in Philadelphia, right? These things saith he that is holy, he that is true, he that hath the key of who? David. He that openeth and no man shutteth, and shutteth and no man openeth. I know thy works. Behold, I have set before thee, notice carefully, an open door, and no man can shut it. For thou hast a little strength, and hast kept my word, and hast not denied my name. What was this open door that Christ gave them there? What was the open door?
Understand.
This was not only the understanding, but the opportunity to preach the second coming of Jesus Christ. The door was open, the knowledge of the truth. Daniel 8:24, or 8:14 rather. The knowledge they had received, the knowledge, the understanding of these Bible prophecies. But then with the little strength that they had, meaning also with the little means that they had, they sacrificed all. They had a zeal for Christ. They had a zeal, a passion to preach the message. They gave up everything, and they for the gospel of Jesus Christ. Preaching the kingdom of heaven was at hand. Not just the kingdom of grace now, but this was also the kingdom of glory. Verse 9, behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews, and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world, to try them that dwell upon the earth. What was the hour of temptation there? That will try the world. What was it?
The disappointment.
The disappointment. We don't have time to look at that. Revelation 10, a lot of the last few verses there, Revelation 10, describe the disappointment. So that was the hour of temptation, the great disappointment. They had again the wrong event, but did they have the right understanding of the 2300 days there?
Yes.
Yes. They just had the wrong event. But nevertheless, God allowed this to happen to try them, to see who was true.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wrestled with this some time ago. Why did God allow Miller and the others to preach the second coming of Jesus Christ in October 22nd, when he knew that that was not the case? But the answer is right here. Because there were many who were coming, flocking into the church. Because they were trying to escape judgment. But their heart was not in the message. If God were to allow, if Jesus were to come that very day and allow some of these individuals into the kingdom, the same rebellion that started whenever it started with Lucifer, it would have repeated itself. This is the reason why, again, I'm just making reference to that passage there. You don't need to turn there. But at the end of Revelation 10, which is where we find also the disappointment. Then going into Revelation 11, what was the counsel in Revelation 11 after the great disappointment? Yeah. It was told to the prophet John, which was really the fulfillment of what happened in 1844. Thou must go back and do what?
Prophesy. And
prophesy again. But now, with a much greater understanding, chapter 11, verse 1 of Revelation says, now there was given me a reed like unto a rod. What was he supposed to do with the reed? To measure the temple of God and them that worship therein. Why? Measuring. The measuring means to see who is worthy. Yeah. Measuring means to see if the many who claim to accept the message of the second advent of Jesus Christ were really true, were really honest. So I hope and pray that's not the case with any of us here. Yes, we want Jesus to come back again. But we are living in the anti-typical day of atonement where every single one of us is being measured as well. Amen. We are being measured to see if we could fit through the door that leads into the kingdom. You know the narrow path? We have to lose some weight. I'm not talking about physical weight there. I'm talking about the baggages, the things of this world, the sin, the pleasures of this world that might keep us back. That's what I'm talking about. So all of us are being measured. So they had a zeal, speaking of the Millerites, they had a zeal there for the faith, for the soon return of Jesus Christ. In spite of the fact they had experienced this great disappointment, there was a faithful few. This was the faithful few that the verse 10 says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. Then, notice the promise there. Behold, I come quickly. Hold the what? That fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. Then verse 10. Him that, notice the word, overcometh, will I make a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall come no more out, and I will write upon him the name, the character of my God, and the name of the city of my God, which is New Jerusalem, which cometh down out of heaven from my God, and I will write upon him my new name. How many of you want Jesus to come?
Amen.
Are you willing to be measured? Are you willing to overcome all things? So the delay was on purpose. Or God allowed Miller, according to his understanding now, keep that in mind, that was Miller's understanding. And also we are told that Miller wasn't even fully sure about that specific date, October 22nd. It was others who inspired him to push for that date. Right? You remember that, right? All right. So now, Jesus, the Bible says, that he's coming again. This was a test for the people of God. But what does God want his people to have in these last days? A zeal again. Not the lady, see it now? The Philadelphia zeal. Notice on the screen here. It says, like a tidal wave. This is from Great Controversy, page 400. Like a tidal wave, the movement swept Millerite movement, swept over the land, from city to city, from village to village, and into remote country places it went, until the waiting people of God were fully aroused. Fanaticism disappeared. What happened? Oh boy. Was that a revival? Yes or no?
Amen. Yes.
Fanaticism disappeared before this proclamation, like early frost before the rising sun. Believers saw their doubt and perplexity remove, and hope and courage animated their hearts. Were they making preparation now for the second coming?
Amen, they were.
Spiritual preparation. Notice, back to the screen. The work was free from those extremes which are ever manifested when there is human excitement without the controlling influence of the Word and Spirit of God. It was similar in character to those reasons of humiliation and returning unto the Lord, which among ancient Israel followed messages of reproof from his servants. It bore, notice, the characteristics that mark the work of God in every age. There was little ecstatic joy, but rather deep, what are the words there? Deep searching of heart, confession of sin, and forsaking of the world. Our preparation to meet the Lord was the burden of agonizing spirits. So do you see what was happening back then? That was the intent behind allowing Miller and the others to proclaim the soon return of Christ in October 1844, October 22nd, rather, 1844. What was the intent there? God wanted to purify the people. We cannot enter the kingdom with our baggage, with our baggages. It doesn't matter now if you are with the conference or if you are self-supported. It doesn't matter. Being with the conference will not save you. Being self-supported will not save you either. It's a personal relationship with Jesus Christ that will save you. Back to the screen. It says, there was a persevering prayer and unreserved consecration to God. We'll come back to persevering prayer. What kind of prayer did they have? Persevering prayer. Were they watching and praying?
Yeah.
Were they watching? Yes, we were watching. Let's go back to the Bible here. Let's go back to Matthew chapter 25 this time. Matthew 25, let's look at verse 13. Again, no man knows the day or the hour. The Millerites had the wrong understanding of the event that was going to take place. But they did understand that something took place at the end of the 300 days. Something happened. Notice now. Chapter 25, verse 13. And the Bible says, again, Jesus says, notice again, watch, therefore, for ye know neither the day nor the hour wherein the Son of Man cometh. So again, we are counseled to watch, because we do not know the day nor the hour. Also, in Revelation chapter 3, verse 3 of Revelation chapter 3, verse 3, same language again. This time, this was the message to the church of Sardis. It says, remember therefore, chapter 3, verse 3, remember therefore how thou hast received and heard, and hold fast and repent. If therefore thou shalt not, what's the word? Watch. I will come on thee as a thief, and thou shalt not know what hour I will come upon thee. Again, we are seeing or hearing an echo here. We don't know the day or the hour, but what was the counsel? Watch. Watch for what? Watch for the signs. Because Jesus says he's coming as a thief. Let's look at another one here. 1 Thessalonians. Let's compare scripture to scripture here. This is a theme, I should say, that you find within the Bible. We don't know the day or the hour, but we must watch. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. Notice beginning in verse 2. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 2. Well, verse 1. It says, what of the times, again, and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord, what is that? The second coming. So cometh as, how will it come? As a thief in the night. For when they shall say, peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. But ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that that day should overtake you as what? As a thief. Why? Why should that day not overtake you, not overtake me as a thief? Why? Because it says, ye are all the children of light and the children of the day. We are not of the night, nor of darkness. Therefore, let us not sleep as do others. Let us, what's the word again? Watch and be sober. We must do what? Watch. Now, again, Jesus and John, we just read in Revelation, and Paul here in 1 Thessalonians, they are echoing the same thing. We do not know the day or the hour, but we must watch. And what must we watch for again? The signs of the times. Matthew chapter 24, beginning in verse 27. Notice with me. We must watch for signs. Have you heard of climate change? I'm sure all of you here have heard of climate change, right? Matthew chapter 24. Let's begin in verse 27 of the book of Matthew chapter 24. Are you heading there or are you there?
Yeah.
Matthew chapter 24. And notice with me. Again, thank God for the signs. Thank God for not leaving us clueless. Notice verse 27 of Matthew chapter 24. It says, Jesus again speaking, he says, for as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. So did he give us a sign here?
Yes.
What did he use as a sign? Nature. Lightning, right? Is that something that we can relate to?
Yes.
In other words, if we start seeing some unusual manifestation of nature around our world, whether if it's man-made, using art or whatever, or Satan behind it, but if we start, or when we start seeing some unusual manifestation of nature, as he says to the disciples in the same chapter about the increase of nature, he says these are signs that would help us to know when he will come again. Again, if you also look at the verse 30, he says, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. So what did Jesus use? Nature as signs. Go back again to Mark chapter 13. We were there a moment ago. Go back to Mark chapter 13. Similar language there. Verse 24, beginning in verse 24. He says, Mark chapter 13, verse 24. But in those days, after that tribulation, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light. When did these things happen? Prior to 1844.
That's right.
Notice verse 25. And the stars of heaven shall fall. We also read that in Revelation chapter 6. Remember that? You find it there in Revelation chapter 6, which is, by the way, within the sixth seal. And the stars of heaven shall fall, and the powers that are in heaven shall be shaken. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory. So again, Christ tells us that we should look for the signs within nature. Manifestation of nature. Lightning, earthquakes, as he mentioned in Matthew 24. These will be indications this would be signs for us to know that it's not business as usual. Notice, back to the screen with me. It says here, no man knoweth the day. Notice carefully this passage here. It says, no man knoweth the day nor the hour. Was the argument most often brought forward by rejectors of the Advent faith. Now, again, background. She was also dealing with the disappointment or the preaching of Christ's coming back in 1844, 1843. Because there were scoffers, as Peter says in 2 Peter chapter 3, there were scoffers scoffing at the second coming of Jesus Christ. Like there were scoffers then, there will be scoffers in these last days. So this is what she's dealing with. Back to the screen. Again, she says, no man knoweth the day nor the hour. Was the argument most often brought forward by rejectors? Emphasis there. Rejectors of the Advent faith. The scripture is, of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. Matthew 24:36. A clear and a harmonious explanation of this text was given by those who were looking for the Lord. And notice carefully. And the wrong use made of it by their opponents was clearly shown. One saying of the Savior must not be made to destroy another. Though no man knoweth the day nor the hour of his coming, notice carefully, we are instructed and required to know when it is near.
Amen.
Amen.
This is the reason why Jesus is saying, watch, watch, watch. Paul says, watch. John also says, watch. Yes, we do not know the day or the hour, but we are instructed to watch, and as we watch, as we study Bible prophecies, we will know when it is near.
Amen.
Back to the screen. We are further taught that to disregard his warning. What's the warning? Watch. And refuse or neglect to know when his advent is near will be as fatal for us as it was for those who lived in the days of Noah, not to know when the flood was
coming.
Now, question, did Noah know the exact time or the hour the flood was going to come?
Not at all.
No. What did Noah do? He was working regardless of the fact that he did not know. He was making preparation. He was watching, as we've been counseled to do. Did the flood come?
Yeah.
Eventually, yes. The flood came. How long did it take? 120 years. From the time Noah received the message, he preached that message, a flood was coming for 120 years.
Wow.
That is also the long suffering of God. How long has it been now since the Millerites preached that message?
50 years.
How long has it been? That was 1844. That was 1844. Now, if you do the math carefully, that's 106. What is it? No, 174 years or 64 years, something like that. That's yes, 174 years. That's a long time.
Yeah.
That is God's mercy. But we were told that Christ could have come in around 1888, when the righteousness by faith message was given, and the church rejected it. Now, question for you: when the church rejected the let me back up here. When that message rather was given to the church through Wagner and Jones, when that message was given to the church, do you know the real reason? Is it because that something was just lacking? Some understanding was lacking about our teaching, our doctrine? That's just the reason why God gave it? Or what was the reason behind it? Do you know? The Blair Bill law Sunday law was being introduced in Congress around the same time. God gave the message of righteousness by faith, which is the third angel's message, of righteousness by faith to the church, to get ready for the Sunday law that was coming. This was a sign that the crisis was upon them. God was going to allow the Sunday law Blair bill to go through, but the church as a whole rejected the message. They rejected the message, but God, because He's a God of grace, of mercy, Sister White says, we were not ready to enter the kingdom. So, therefore, what happened to Israel, journeying from Egypt through the wilderness into the promised land, because of their unbelief, they were sent back to the wilderness. That's exactly what happened to us as a people. We were sent back to the wilderness because we were not ready to enter the kingdom. Now, the question is today, do you think that if there is a movement right now to enforce a Sunday law, not just nationwide now, worldwide, do you think God will send another E.J. Wagner and A.T. Jones to Congress to block that?
No.
To fight it?
No.
That is not going to happen. You know what God is going to do in these last days? He's not going to send men or women before Congress to protect our liberty. No, He's not going to do that. He's going to allow it to happen, but He will allow us to be brought before kings and governors to witness for the Sabbath, of the Sabbath truth. That's what God says. Jesus says in Matthew chapter 24, and also in Luke chapter 21. This is what God wants to do right now. Regardless of where the organization is, regardless of where you are personally, where I am personally, spiritually speaking, God wants to finish this work. And the Sunday movement has been making its way again in darkness. And as Sister White says, many do not understand this movement that's taking place. Even those who are pushing for it, advocating it, do not realize what they're doing. This Sunday movement, this crisis is right upon us. Again, what did Jesus say about Jerusalem right before the destruction? Which we know, Sister White tells us in the great controversy, the typology with Jerusalem, the destruction of Jerusalem, was a rumbling of the Sunday law. And that would happen worldwide. Go to Matthew chapter 24 with me. Matthew chapter 24. And notice with me what Jesus again says in Matthew chapter 24. Again, dealing with the signs of the times. Matthew chapter 24. Jesus says to the disciples, when you look at the previous, we're going to begin in verse 15. But when you look at the previous verses, he gave them signs of the time, signs in nature, wars, and all these things. But verse 15 says, when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whosoever readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Now, if I were to ask you, what was one of the applications there of this abomination of desolation standing where it ought not? If I were to ask you, what was one example of that? Would you be able to give me one?
The Roman banner.
Would you be able to give me one?
D.C.
There you go. The Pope standing before Congress. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation standing, that was the Roman he was referring to. Did that happen in this nation? Yes. Brothers and sisters, did you know that when that even happened, though it was 3 years ago when this happened, did you know that that was a sign of probation will be closing soon? Did you know this? Did you know that when the Pope came here and stood before Congress and talking about climate change and all of these things, did you know that down there in D.C., there were some Adventist folks there who were being confronted by some priests? And who told them very clearly what the agenda was about? The climate change agenda? What was behind the climate change agenda? That it is Sunday law. But yet, many do not understand what's behind this. Is there a flood coming? This is the flood that came upon Jerusalem, destroyed Jerusalem. This is the flood that came upon the antediluvian people who did not make preparation. A flood is coming again, but this flood should not take Seventh-day Adventists by surprise. Notice with me on the screen. It says here, from the times of India, UN warns of what? Perfect storm of hunger, climate change, and man-made conflicts. October 16, 2018. Notice it says a potent combination of hunger, climate change, and man-made conflicts are creating a perfect storm. The UN aims to achieve a zero hunger world by, what's the date?
2030.
Let's pause there. Those of you who were with us last time, you know exactly what that date means, right? Remember AD 31? And AD 2031? You remember that? Notice, back to the screen. But faces three obstacles. The UN faces three obstacles. Conflicts, climate change, and an economic slowdown. The answer is not in Rome. What's the next word?
Alone.
So let's pause there. So where is then the answer for all of these problems? They are saying, in Rome. That's where the answer lies. What are they referring to? The encyclical on climate change that the Pope gave to the world as a solution for the problem. Within it, again, is the Sunday rest. We've seen other articles that says slow Sunday, the only solution to stop climate change. We've seen articles like that before. And we've seen another article where the scientists are saying, keep in mind, these are the scientists now, that are saying that we need a day of rest in order to stop climate change, in order to stop the earth from warming up. Notice, back to the screen. It says, what are you going to do about it? The struggle against hunger urgently demands generous financing, the abolition of trade barriers, and above all, greater resilience in the face of climate change, economic crisis, and warfare. Now, you are looking at Revelation 13 here. Climate change, which is a call for Sunday law, but also involves the economy as well. It will affect the economy. That's Revelation 13. Yeah, Revelation 13, verses 15 through 17 speaks of the economy. When it says you will not be able to buy or sell, that's the economy it's referring to. That's your behavior it's referring to. That's your job it's referring to. That's your basic necessities it's referring to. It's food, shelter. These are the things that are part of this climate change agreement. Back in Paris, and recently, the latest development there from the UN, the meetings that they had there. Now, you've heard of what has been happening down there in the south, right? With this migration, or these migrants coming from under us and trying to come to the United States of America. Now, question for you. What do you think they are saying is causing this migration? Notice with me on the screen. It says here, climate change sparked what? The border migration crisis. So what's the problem? Why are these people coming?
Oh, climate change.
Climate change. Notice it says, one factor causing migrants to risk everything, even potentially losing their children, to travel through the heat of summer in the dangerous desert and towards the barbed wire, fences, and tent cities springing up just south of the United States border. Climate change is the problem. 1998, Hurricane Mitch, which smashed into Honduras and caused tens of thousands of fatalities. Hundreds of thousands of refugees traveled north from Honduras to the United States in the aftermath of Mitch. So what are they saying here? The reason why these migrants are coming here are moving, going north. And by the way, it's the wrong time of the year to go north. The birds are going south right now. So they're going north. Why? Because of climate change.
Yeah.
But notice with me. Remember, climate change not only involves Sunday law, but also the economy. It affects the economy as well. I want to read for you a passage from E.J. Wagner. You see, God had already given to us as a people the understanding long ago of what is taking place currently. If we would only go back and study what these men said. Remember last time, we looked at also, when we dealt with the climate change subject, that one of the push behind climate change is socialism. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
To get rid of capitalism.
Yeah.
Notice what E.J. Wagner says when it comes to capitalism. He says, a bill to prevent persons from being forced to labor on Sunday. It is a fact that a great many people in the United States labor on Sunday. And it is also a fact that those who labor on that day do so because they do not regard the day as sacred. If they did not labor, they would spend the day in amusement. Anyone would naturally suppose that, what's the word there? Capitalists, or a company of capitalists, would not be in a position to be forced to labor by anybody. They can labor or not as they choose. Pause. Why they can labor or not as they choose? Because of the principles that this nation was found upon. Mm-hmm. And capitalism is part of it. Free market, right? Mm-hmm. Right? But again, behind climate change, it's not only a call for Sunday law, but it's a call to do away with capitalism and in favor of socialism. Notice, back to the screen. It says, and when they labor on Sunday, it is because they choose to, and not because they are forced to. Therefore, when the bill, this bill here, when the bill says that it shall be unlawful for anybody to perform labor on Sunday, it contradicts its title, which says that its purpose is to prevent people from being forced to labor on that day. So, they have, back then, they have tried to introduce bills under the pretense that some wants to have Sunday as their day of rest, but they're being forced to work on that day. So therefore, let's come up with a bill that would prohibit them or from forcing them to work on Sunday. But the idea behind the bill was really to legislate a day of worship and to get rid of capitalism. This is why Sister White says the Sunday law movement is making its way in darkness. So what is the push that we have been seeing? Back to the screen. This is a battle. This climate change movement is a battle against capitalism. Because capitalism is part of this foundation, or the part of the foundation of this nation.
Republicanism.
It's part of, thank you, it's part of republicanism, but also Protestantism, right? Mm-hmm. Now, again, I shared this with you before. During the Reformation, how many classes of people did you have? How many classes? Two. No, we did not have three. Two classes. In Revelation chapter 13, verses 15 and 17, how many classes of people did you see? Two. What happened? And who are they? Rich and poor. Who's missing?
Middle class.
During the Reformation, keep in mind, during the Reformation, was there a middle class now?
Starting to come up. They were in the middle.
The reformers were the middle class. Oh. The middle class always stands between the rich and the poor. What the middle class does, it lightens the poor It helps the poor during the Reformation to see what the rich or the oppressors are doing. The middle class was a thorn against the papacy.
Right.
So this is the reason why you have been seeing push like in countries like Venezuela. There's no middle class in Venezuela. Rich and poor. In China, I don't think there's even such a thing as middle class. Rich and poor. Socialism. It's the same thing Revelation 13 described. This is the push also behind climate change. Rich and poor. Get rid of the middle class. The middle class are the protesters. You understand now? The middle class are the protesters. Now, to get rid of capitalism is getting rid of the middle class. So, notice what it says there. From the Daily Signal. Climate alarmists admit they want to what? Dismantle our free enterprise system. What is that? Capitalism. The world's top scientists just gave rigorous backing to systematically dismantle capitalism as a key requirement, notice carefully, as a key requirement to maintain civilization and a habitable planet. So, what's causing the problem that we're having, according to them?
Capitalism.
Capitalism. Back to the screen. UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. Executive Secretary Christina Figueres made similar remarks in a push for the Paris Climate Accord. Figueres said, this is the first time in the history of mankind that we are setting ourselves the task of intentionally, within a defined period of time, to change the economic development model that has been reigning for at least 150 years since the Industrial Revolution. Do you see how bold they are?
Yes.
They're telling you exactly what's behind climate change. What's the agenda? It's to get rid of capitalism and to embrace socialism. Notice, it says here, from The Guardian, October 9th, 2018, we must win the battle to limit global warming. The final tick box to limit global warming is not just political. Global warming must not exceed 1.5 Celsius. Landmark UN report warned in October 8th this year. It is also economic. Notice, capitalism, the cause of global warming, cannot be its remedy. So if capitalism cannot be the remedy, get rid of it. It's a problem. That's Sunday law. That's a call for Sunday law. You cannot have a Sunday law when you have freedom, when you have capitalism. It cannot be. You have, this is why Sister White says, this nation shall repudiate every principle of its constitution as a republic, as a Republican and a Protestant. They will no longer protest against the papacy. They will no longer adapt capitalism.
Spiritual formation.
Yeah, that's pure spiritual formation. Notice now. From the Business Insider, October 12, 2018, a dire new report revealed our, what's the word again? Capitalist economic system may not be up to the task of dealing with the climate disasters to come. So then, it's not up to the task. Let's get rid of it. Another one. It says, this changes everything. Capitalism versus the climate. Notice now. Another one here. It says, capitalism, not individual behavior or human nature, cause climate change. So what's causing climate change?
Capitalism.
Capitalism. Notice, back to the screen. We do have a choice. We can ditch capitalism as an economic system and save the planet, or we can ditch the planet and save capitalism. So now, when you present these choices, these two choices before the people, keep in mind, Sister White says the Sunday law will come through popular demand. When the people are facing hunger, starvation, drought, and they are losing their homes because of hurricanes or earthquakes or whatever you, and losing loved ones. And these people are telling them it's because of climate change. What do you think the people are going to do? Look on the screen here. These are the people marching, calling for a change. That's what Sister White says would happen. It's the people who are going to call for a Sunday law, because that's exactly what the Pope says is the solution. That's what the scientists are saying is the solution. Notice, back to the screen again. It says here, from the Straits Times, U2's Bono and Pope discuss Irish sexual abuse crisis. Notice, Bono also said he and the Pope discussed developmental issues and the Pontiff's 2015 encyclical Laudato Si, climate change, which back moves to defend the planet from global warming and climate change and call for a more equal distribution of the Earth's resources.
More to the Vatican.
More to the, that's exactly right. That's Revelation 13 again, verses 15 through 17. And this is the Robin Hood mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Get it from the rich, give it to the poor. At least that's what they say. But it's a form of control. Back to the screen. It says, we have to rethink the wild beast that is what?
Capitalism.
Capitalism. Although it is not immoral, it is
Amoral.
Amoral. What does that mean? What does amoral
No
mean?
morals at all.
If you don't have any concern for others. Basically, that's what it's saying. It is amoral, and it requires our instruction. And he, the Pope, is very keen on that. So they are looking to the encyclical that the Pope gave us as a solution. Notice another one here. From the Vox, it says, Pope Francis warned, history will judge climate change. Who? Deniers. Like you and I, right? Francis echoed several themes of his papacy, including his deep suspicion of unbridled what?
Capitalism.
So he suspected capitalism is the what? Is the problem for the hurricanes, like Michael we just had, Florence, the earthquakes over in Indonesia that also caused a tsunami, and the typhoons in that part of the world as well. That's who they're looking to, the papacy. This is why E.J. Wagner told us here that capitalism will be under attack. They have to get rid of capitalism in order to enforce Sunday law. They have to get rid of it. Notice another one here. Business class, it says, a high-price conference at Catholic University. October 4th, 2018, Pope Francis has placed on the need to tackle climate change and is critic of free market fundamentalism as an ideology that often puts the profits of multinational corporations before environmental stewardship. Freedom is under relentless attack. This messianic faith in the free market and knee-jerk hostility to nearly any governmental efforts to rein in the worst excesses of capitalism, notice, is anathema to traditional Catholic teaching on striking a proper balance between the market and the state. Do you know what the word anathema means?
Curse.
Curse! What is a curse then? Capitalism. Capitalism is a curse. We must get rid of it. Notice, it's not over yet. From CNN, October 15, 2018, what does it say there? Climate change to cause global beer shortage, study says. Now we are in deep trouble.
Not that.
Do you think these party poopers,
Don't worry.
these party goers, these NFL fans, when they see things like that, they're just gonna sit back, relax, and allow this to happen?
Well, no, I would take with a beer.
Now you are touching their beers. Climate change is there a Sunday law? Notice now, it says here, beer is the king of alcoholic beverages, winning the popularity contest in terms of total volume drunk. And because its main ingredient, barley is sensitive to extreme drought and heat. Climate change will cause undue pain for all who love their lager. New research suggests.
And that's
So,
the poor man's drink.
Now you're touching the apple of their eye. Huh?
Really?
So, do you think that the people will take that easy?
No.
They're going to demand for a solution. They are already demanding for a solution. So, they are looking for a Messiah. We look at, back to the screen. We look at this article last time before. They are seeking for a Messiah. Messiah wanted. Why? Because of the environmental problem that we are having. They said that we have had several partial Messiah, and our goal was one of them, but they said here. So who else is there? The answer is
Pope Francis, of course.
Pope Francis. So they are seeking for a Messiah who has the solution to the climate problem. Now, Donald Trump, some of you may know this. He said several times before, even before he became president, that climate change was a hoax, right?
Right.
Climate change was a hoax. He even last year said that he was going to pull the United States out of the Paris Agreement. Now keep in mind, small screen, okay? We looked at this before. The way the sun level is being pushed within the United States of America, it is through nationalism. The way it's being pushed worldwide, that's the issue there. Climate change, globalism. But they all are going to meet together as one, because the Bible tells us it's the United States of America who's going to give life to the beast, who's going to provide an army to the beast, just like Justinian provided an army to the Pope of Rome prior to its ascendancy in 538 AD. It's the same role the United States of America is playing in the last days. So, Trump has been very vocal about what he sees about climate change, that it's a hoax. But recently, last week, after the UN meetings on climate change, where they give the planet 12 years, 12 years from now to 2030, 12 years, or otherwise it's going to perish. So Trump says, I want to see this report. Who's behind this report? This was one of the questions that Trump asked. Well, the papacy is behind it. Now, Trump is being bullied as a result of the report on climate change. He's being put into a corner, but notice what this says now. Trump says, climate change, what are the words?
Not a hoax.
Not a hoax. Not sure of its source. Well, the source is the papacy. President Donald Trump is backing off his claim that climate change is a hoax, but says he doesn't know if it's man-made and suggests the climate will change back again. No, it will not change back again. The papacy will make sure that it does not change back again.
That's right.
Satan will make sure it does not change back again. And God, as we quoted this before, will make sure that it intensifies, because these are signs of the second coming of Jesus Christ. So Donald Trump is backing away from climate change being a hoax. Then whom do we have left here to back us up, to protect us from this? Nobody, except Jesus. Notice, Sister White says here, Review and Herald, December 11, 1888, the Sunday movement is doing what? Is now making its way in darkness. The leaders are concealing the true issue, and many who unite in the movement do not themselves see whether the undercurrent is standing. They are working in blindness. They do not see that if, notice, a Protestant government sacrifices the principles that have made them a free. What do you see here in free? What's been under attack so far, based on the articles we've been looking at? Capitalism. Free enterprise. You're right. You're sleeping on the job. Notice. Again, they do not see that if a Protestant government sacrifices the principles that have made them a free, independent nation, and through legislation brings into the Constitution principles that will propagate papal falsehood and papal delusion. They are plunging into the Roman horrors of the Dark Ages. Well, is United States of America doing away with their principles?
Yes.
Trump already admitted that climate change is no longer a hoax. Now, you have the battle between nationalism and globalism. Nationalism has to give in to the New World Order, to globalism. And you know how this is being done right now? And many of us do not understand and realize this. And that's one of the signs of the times based on Revelation chapter 13. Notice on the screen. This is from the Daily Signal. How Justice Kavanaugh will change. Notice the word change there. The Supreme Court. Climate change. How will he change the Supreme Court? Well, let's look at another one here. The Supreme Court recently sided with pro-life pregnancy centers. The ripple effect has begun. The what? The ripple effect has begun. So, what's the issue here? In NIFLA versus Becerra, the court ruled 5-4 that states cannot require pro-life pregnancy centers to post advertisements promoting abortion, holding that such laws would violate the free speech rights of those centers. The ruling struck down a 2015 California law that had done just that. So you have a ruling of 5-4 to do what? To undo what the liberals have done.
Roe versus Wade.
Yes, Roe versus Wade. So now, what we see is the nation was once too far left. Now we are going way far right. And I'm telling you, there's not going to be a turning point. Once this happened, well, it's happening. Well, this says here, the ripple effect has begun. There's not going to be a turning around. We are at a point of no return. What will happen at this election, you're going to see soon after that oppression. Mark my word. I would not be surprised if we have a Sunday law by next year. I'm not a prophet. I don't claim to be a prophet. I'm just basing this on what I see taking place, on the signs of the times, and on what Spirit of Prophecy and the Bible says. I would not be surprised if there's a Sunday law by next year. But whether or not we have a Sunday law by next year, what were we counseled to do? Watch!
Get ready.
Get ready. It doesn't matter if there's a Sunday law tomorrow, or next year, or the year after. You know that you are ready. You know that you are ready. Because, again, I base this on this climate change movement and on also the nomination now, Justice Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court, which gave the Republicans, the conservative, a majority now on the Supreme Court bench. It's no longer, there's no longer the swing man in the middle anymore. Everything will go far right. Again, combine that with the climate change agreement. Notice, last article we look at here, from the Times record. Guest column. Congress should lead where? On climate change. Notice carefully, I want you to read this carefully. Tell me if you don't see a Sunday law here, or a national Sunday law here. We need our, now let me back up here. This is as a result of a climate change lawsuit that has been filed to the lower courts. And there was an appeal to the Supreme Court. And for the Supreme Court to stop that lawsuit from going forward. But the Supreme Court allowed it to go forward. This was the first case on the climate change where the Supreme Court had a say-so and allowed it to go forward. So now, as a result of the Supreme Court of the United States allowing that case to go forward, here's what they're saying now. They want Congress to lead on climate change. We need our national leaders, our members of Congress, to advocate for and educate us. Their constituents, notice, on a, what are the words? National solution. Let's pause for a moment. Put your thinking cap on. What's behind the national solution? Climate change. What is behind climate change?
Sunday law.
Do you see what the people are calling for now? Notice. On a national solution for lowering carbon emissions quickly and efficiently at the lowest cost, with the greatest transparency. We need what again? A national policy that will endure and will not be repealed. Once that Sunday law is passed, there's no turning back. There's no turning back. It's not going to be repealed. This is why I said God will not send another Eddie Jones and Wagner to fight that bill. Notice, every time in a different party gains control of the levers of government, we need a bipartisan solution. We need a policy that businesses can incorporate into their long-term planning and does not vary from state to state. We need a policy that will lower emission in every sector of the economy. If you read this carefully, brothers and sisters, as Seventh-day Adventists who understand the Sabbath issue will be the subject in the last days, that is a call for Sunday law. We need a national policy on climate change. That's what it says. We need a national policy on climate change that cannot be revoked and that cannot be changed from state to state. That's what it says. That's a national Sunday law they're calling for. That's a national Sunday. Are we ready for the issue? Are we ready for it? But here is our mission again. Here is our mission. To have the zeal like our pioneers, like the Philadelphia church. As we see these signs being fulfilled, we need to have that zeal again. Thou must prophesy again to many people, nation, languages. What is it that we have to prophesy again? Jesus is coming again. The signs are being fulfilled. That's what we are told to do. But notice the latter part of this group. Back to the screen. It says, there was little ecstatic joy, but rather deep searching of what? Of heart. What else? Confession of sin and forsaking of the world. A preparation to meet the Lord was the burden of agonizing spirits. There was persevering prayer and unreserved consecration to God. There was what kind of prayer?
Persevering.
Is that describing Jacob time of trouble here?
Yes.
Was Jacob persevering in prayer? You remember when we looked at Matthew chapter 11 verse 12? That Jesus says, he was talking about John the Baptist, and he said, the kingdom of heaven suffered violence until now, until John. What does that mean? You know what Jesus was saying? Well, let me let you read it for yourself. Back to the screen. Sister White says, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. That's Matthew 11, 12 I just mentioned. Notice what it means. The violence here meant is a holy earnestness, such as who?
Jacob manifested.
What was Jacob doing, brothers and sisters? Praying, wrestling with God. So what does it mean when Jesus says the kingdom of heaven suffer violence and the violent take it by force? What does it mean? Sister White says, few know how to wrestle with God in prayer. Remember what we've been looking at? Jesus says to the disciples to watch, but he also says something else. What else did he say? Do you remember? Watch and pray. Go back to Mark chapter 13 as we come into a close. Go back to the book of Mark chapter 13. It was not just watching for the signs of the time, but he also tells them something else to do. Mark chapter 13, verse 23. Mark chapter 13, verse 23. Notice, He says in verse 23, but take ye heed, behold, I have told you all things. So he has telling us all things. He has given us understanding of Bible prophecy. He has opened our eyes to see what's happening. What else he wants us to do? Beside watching. Skip on down to verse 33. Take ye heed. Watch and what else?
Pray.
And pray. For ye know not when the time is. So we are counseled to do two things. As we see the signs of the times. Remember, this is again in the context of the second coming and the signs of the time that will precede the second coming of Jesus Christ. We are counseled to watch as we see the signs, as we see the Bible prophecies being fulfilled. We must be in earnest. We must have a holy zeal. We must be wrestling with God in prayer as did Jacob. That's what it means that the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence. When you look at the picture or imagine the picture of Jacob wrestling with God, the Bible says. He was wrestling with God, wrestling with the angel. I will not let thee go until what?
You bless me.
Thou bless me. The kingdom of heaven suffered violence. Jacob was fighting for his life. Was fighting to overcome sin in his life. Jacob knew that this was his last opportunity. That was his last opportunity. What if today is my last opportunity? What if today is your last opportunity? What should we be doing right now? What if they were to enact a Sunday law tomorrow? What if they were? And that is possible, by the way, because everything that they need to enforce a Sunday law is just there. It's just there. You cannot see it right now, but those who are within this movement know that it's there. It exists. It's there. What if you knew about it? For sure. What if you turn on the news and you hear that there's a Sunday law in the land. There's a Sunday law worldwide. What would you do? Would that be the time that you would try to seek the Lord? Or is now the best time to do it?
Now.
Because I don't want to be like those, as we just read a moment ago, like those who heard the preaching back in 1844, 1843 of the second coming of Jesus Christ and did not want to get rid of their baggages, but yet they came to the water of baptism anyway. They came down pagan and they came back up pagan. You don't want to be like that. You want to surrender all to Jesus. Like Jacob, what did Jacob do? What did Jacob do? When he heard the news that Esau was coming, he got rid of everything. That's what he did. He got rid of everything. He sent a group of people here, another group of people there. He was alone with God. This will be our experience, individually. And some of us, maybe as a few people here and there. But this is a personal experience that each one of us must have with God. We must wrestle with God as Christ himself did. Matthew chapter 26. That's where we're going to. Matthew chapter 26. As Christ himself did. Let's look at Matthew 26, verse 38, and then we'll skip on to Mark chapter 14. Matthew chapter 26, verse 38. Notice, as Christ was facing his own crisis in the Garden of Gethsemane, what did he say to the disciples? Verse 36. Then cometh Jesus with them unto a place called Gethsemane, and said unto the disciples, sit ye here, while I go to do what?
Pray.
Why? Because he was about to face a crisis. And he took with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, and began to be sorrowful and very heavy. Then saith he unto them, my soul is exceeding sorrowful, even unto death. Tarry ye here. And now what's the word again?
Watch.
Watch with me. For a moment, did they watch?
No.
No, they fell asleep. Skip on down to Mark chapter 14. Again, same account there, but notice what Mark added here. Mark chapter 14. It says here, are you ready there? Mark chapter 14. Verse 37. This was after Jesus was praying, wrestling with God in prayer. He says, Abba Father. Verse 36, rather. Abba Father. All things are possible unto thee. Take away this cup from me. Nevertheless, what? Not what I will, but what thy will. And he cometh and findeth them, Peter and the sons of Zebedee. Sleepest thou, he says? Couldest not thou, what is it? Watch 1 hour. Notice. Watch ye and pray, lest ye enter into temptation. The spirit truly is ready, but the flesh is weak. This crisis that we are facing right now, this is not something you and I should put off for some years down the road. It will be upon us like an overwhelming surprise. It should not surprise you and I. If we have been watching, but also wrestling with God in prayer. You know, this is something lately the Lord has been convicting me about. I need to pray more. I need to pray more. We need to pray more. We need to wrestle with God. To the point where we don't feel like giving up. That's how we should be praying. Like Christ did. He was praying, praying, and praying, and praying until they came to arrest him. Until he was able to subdue the flesh. Remember, he was fighting the temptation there. He prayed and prayed and prayed until he was able to subdue the flesh and resist the temptation. This is what we've been called to do. Watch and pray. Watch. The signs are being fulfilled. We need to understand what's happening. But we also need to pray so that when our time comes, the time of persecutions come, we will be ready. Prayer. Constant prayer, earnest prayer, agonizing before God in prayer will enable us, will give us the strength. And what would we have as a result? The kingdom of God.
Victory.
We will have the kingdom of God. Jesus is coming again, brothers and sisters. A son-in-law is coming. Are we ready? Is the question. Let's pray.